podcast.
Here we go. Hello, hello.
Yo, yo.
That's a toy for kids. Thank you, Sami. Around the block and around the world, this is where we discuss, debate, and deliberate all things diabetes. Representing type 2, my name is Dobie Maxwell. Representing type 1, what's your name?
The vivacious, the effervescent, and the most annoying Sami Parker.
That's who I'm saying. Today's episode of JMT is brought to you by the Diabetes app, which is a free social community app that brings together both type 1 and type 2 diabetics, plus their supporters. What can we find here, Sami?
You can find me and you on the Diabetes app, Dobie.
And community and resources. Today, Miss Sami, we're going kind of around the world to Texas, deep in the heart. Big D. Special guest today, as always.
Yes, we have a special guest, Rob Howe. Hello, Rob.
Hello, howdy, y'all. That's my Texas. That's my only Texas nod that I'll probably give on the call.
A twang or a drawl?
Little Southern twang. Do you want to give a little background on yourself, Rob?
Yeah, so I've lived in Dallas most of my life. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes here. That's in 2005, on January 1st, 2005. I'm sure, as you guys know, holidays are always popular because you're around your family and they notice weird things about you. So,
Yes.
Woke up that January 1st and my mom said, hey, there's something wrong. We should probably go to the urgent care, see what's up. And we got there and they were like, hey, we think you have type 1 diabetes. Let's send you to the hospital to make sure. And sure enough, almost 18 years later, here we are. Happy
New Year. My New Year's resolution in 2005 to stick needles in my fingers.
Right.
Didn't expect that. Didn't see that coming, did you?
Sort of in perpetuity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 17. So I just turned 17. I was a sophomore in high school. I don't know. I was 16, just turned 16. Sorry, I don't know. Getting old.
It's not an easy age at all.
No, and I think, when you talk about teenagers with diabetes, I think that's one of the most challenging times. And, it's just a challenging time in general. And I think as we get older, we tend to forget how difficult that was. But for me, I was at least past most of my bowing up against my parents and stuff and you'll never understand me. So I was a little bit past that, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, no, it's really tough because I was 12. And so I said, I kind of got lucky because I feel like 13 or 14, I guess 15 is I'm my own person. I'm in high school. So I was like, they got lucky because I was right before that. And you got lucky because you were right after that.
Yeah, those 13, 14, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
Well, did you have your driver's license when you got diagnosed?
I did.
I can't imagine taking your driver's test and then having diabetes and having to pull over, check your sugars.
Yeah, it doesn't say I have diabetes on my driver's license. I know some states don't allow that. I don't know. Every state's different. Texas, we do things a little bit different down here. There's some of the rules are questionable, but others are, they pretty much let you have free reign. So yeah, there's no distinction for diabetes on a Texas driver's license.
I'm laughing because the DMV does not know that I have diabetes, nor was I allowed to get my license technically because I was having a tough time with the A1C at the time. And I was like, might as well not drive till I'm 20. So we did things a little hush-hush type of way. But that's funny that you said that.
That's a good prompt though. How open are you? I'll give you an example. When I was 16, the summer after I was diagnosed, we went on a cruise and my dad and I had signed up for an excursion to go snorkeling, which we have done before and I've done since. But one of the things that they had on the permission waiver was do you live with any of these illnesses? And diabetes was on there. And so I was very new and I was like, okay, I'm going to be good and circle it. And then they wouldn't let me do it, for liability reasons. And, I get it. They don't want you to go low while you're under there. That was what I was thinking was the reasoning, right? But my dad, rest in peace. But this was our first moment. He put his arm around me. He's like, hey, you know what? Maybe next time we don't tell them.
Yeah, because it is true. It's one of those things where you're like, is it better to tell? And then my parents were like, no.
Right.
Nope.
Mom is the word. Silence is golden.
Yeah. So Rob, I know that you have your own podcast, Diabetics Doing Things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you kind of explain how you came up with this and what prompted you to start this in the first place? Because I think it's so awesome.
Yeah. I think, 7 years ago, podcasting was there were a few more barriers to entry. It wasn't quite as popular as it is now, which at the time was one of my attractions to it because my story about it, I was in Colombia in South America on a work exchange trip. And part of that trip, I was not able to leave my hotel room because without my chaperone. And I was there for 2 weeks. He was my translator and chaperone or whatever. So I had a lot of unbroken time to think and plan. And I was kind of at this stage in my life and my career where I was like, hey, my career's going pretty well. I feel like I've got like that down. I would love to do something that's not just for me and like kind of get involved. And as I was thinking about like, well, what can I do to help people? My insulin pump fell out of my pocket. And those who wear tubed pumps know, like when you're in a lounge chair, and you're wearing gym shorts, like stuff falls out of your
It
pockets.
just slides out.
And so there it hits the floor, and it was kind of like a sign, right? And I was like, oh, like maybe my story could benefit people with diabetes. So like when I was diagnosed, all I wanted to do was play basketball, and I was a varsity athlete and had envisioned myself like continuing to play. And when I was told I had diabetes, the first thought was like, okay, well, can I still play basketball? And I had a great care team and a pretty like 10 out of 10 diagnosis experience, which I know is not the case for many people. And Dobie, I loved your story, man. Of your diagnosis. Certainly that sort of takes the cake.
Thanks, buddy. It's one of those things that cheers other people up. It's like the rodeo clown. Well, I'm not that bad.
It's that comedian, like, you're bearing your soul for us to just laugh at, right? So,
okay.
So anyway, I wanted to play basketball. My care team told me like anything that you want, a dream that you have for your life is still within reach as long as, and this is a caveat, as long as you take care of your diabetes. And so I played and was first team All-State, look it up. I went to college on a 4-year scholarship to the University of Colorado Springs. And then afterwards was the first person with diabetes to play against the Harlem Globetrotters for the Washington Generals. And so I had this like cool, inspiring story of like doing things like living above and beyond your diabetes diagnosis. And I thought that would help people. But I knew if I became a diabetes blogger, that was a great recipe for me to write exactly 0 blogs. So I thought, hey, I love people. I love talking. Like podcasts sound cool. I had just listened to Serial at the time, which is like what kind of like piqued the interest back into the podcast sphere. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I can meet some cool people and learn to do a podcast. And that's where it started. And we've done almost 250 episodes on the feed. The main feed, we're about to do 200 for the 200th episode. So I don't know. I didn't think it would go this long, honestly. And now I don't know when I'll ever stop. So it's just one of those, interesting wrinkles that life throws you.
Yeah. And I think too, for me at least, it's like a very nice outlet. There's certain things I say I've never thought about. And then I'm like, oh, well, here I am saying it. Maybe I shouldn't be, but it's going to come out. And then it comes out and it's like a therapeutic time.
Therapy is a good word for it. I think like sometimes even when I'm like burnt out, or like today we're recording at like 6 my time. So like we've had a full work day and like life is there, but then talking and connecting with other people with diabetes and like that shared sort of connective tissue that everybody has. Learning to make more friends with diabetes was a huge life hack for me. And like I leave conversations like this with my cup filled up more than it was when I came in. And I think that's just a good sign in general of like passion projects and things that you do. Like if they're good for you, you can tell, and like your body like keeps that score.
Yeah.
Would you not agree though that since diabetes is a community into itself, as you make friends, now we know you when we're in Dallas, we're going to call you and get together. Don't know when that's going to be, but it's like,
I'll be in Dallas real soon.
Yeah, I mean, like that happens all the time, honestly, right? So my wife and I had dinner with a friend from the diabetes community like 4 weeks ago. He was just driving through and he said, hey, I'll be in Dallas on this day. Like, let's do something. And so meeting internet friends in real life has definitely been a new experience in the past 7 years. And I don't know, most people just tell you I'm taller in real life than I seem on the internet, which is definitely true. But it's always nice to like meet people.
How tall are you?
Yeah, I'm 6'6", so I'm pretty tall.
Okay, that is pretty tall.
Although I say that 6'6" is the perfect height because you can reach the tallest shelf at the grocery store, but you can also fit in the back of a Toyota Camry. So you can get in most Ubers. So like that's my hill that I'll die on. That's my hot take.
I mean, hey, it's nice. I wish I was that tall.
How does your wife react to your diabetes? I mean, obviously she's, it's part of her life too, whether she wants to or not. Is she reacting pretty well?
When people talked about like, I obviously had diabetes when we met and we worked together. That's how we met. And so I was testing my blood sugar, giving injections like around the office. Like I was not super open. Like I wasn't certainly like I am now, but I was not hiding my diabetes. I was pretty open about it. And the thing about dating is it usually takes place over meals, which is always a good way to talk about diabetes. Like, hey, by the way, I'm just going to bolus for these dinner rolls at the Texas Roadhouse here. Yeah. So, I'll explain what's going on. Don't worry about it. Today, she's really just like my ally, I think. And especially when, CGM alarms are going off in the middle of the night that I'm sleeping through, she kind of, hits me with a pillow and gently wakes me up.
Yeah, it is true. Because it's like making sure whoever you're surrounding yourself with understands it is like vital. Because I've had people that don't. And I'm like, this is painful. Like, this is just, it's not working. Like, it's not there. And I think that's why too, even with like how you were explaining why you started your podcast specifically, and me and Dobie, for us at least, it was like, a lot of times there's a gap in the area for like a communication, just like an easy dialogue discussion about anything diabetes related, not just purely medical side of it. So it's nice because, like you said, it's so fun getting to meet everybody and mingle and learn new things and even like ways to approach other diabetics. Cause I think sometimes I might do it not the right way. Cause I'll be like, you, I see your CGM. And I probably scare them.
Yeah, last year I was actually, my mom turned 60 and my family went to the beach for her birthday. And there was a family walking by and their daughter had an Omnipod and a CGM on. And she was very small, like a toddler. And I'm a huge man. And I was like running after them, like, hey, she has diabetes, but it's going to be okay. And it's like, yeah,
You're like, why is he flagging us down?
Yeah.
Security, 6'6" man chasing my daughter.
No,
Exactly.
it's true though. I saw a mom the other day at I was playing pickleball and I saw her with the Omnipod and I wanted to so badly. I was like, don't do it. It was like Father's Day and I was about to be like, oh my gosh, like Dexcom. But then I didn't because I was like, no, she's playing with her kids and this will turn in, knowing me, I was like, it'll turn into a 30-minute conversation that they're not trying to have probably. So, but it's very easy. It's like, and I mean, even I've had like 3 type 2s stop me before and be like, I have type 2 diabetes. I'm thinking about getting a CGM. What do you think about that? And I love it. I'm like, let's chat some more.
Yeah, I think it's always nice. Like you said this earlier and it made me think like diabetes is a disease with too many inputs. And I've heard that. I don't want to take credit for that quote. When you're diagnosed, they teach you how to count carbs. They teach you, hopefully if you're lucky, they teach you how to count carbs. They teach you how to dose your insulin.
Yeah.
These days, more people are getting on CGM quicker, which is awesome. But they don't teach you about all the other things that you're going to have to do, like explain to your employer or talk to your college or advocate for yourself at school. And there's just so many different things that affect your blood sugar, as you know, like sleep, hydration, walking, exercise, whatever the case may be. The list goes on. And like, there's no way you can cover that on day one. And so you tend to handle most of that on your own. And, I think that's what's been really beneficial getting in the community and making friends with diabetes. I'm sure you guys have seen the same, is you just learn a lot of tricks and hacks from people who have gone before you.
The Diabetes app is an online community platform that was created to help people living with diabetes find support and information in one spot.
And on the Diabetes app, you can join groups and connect with other people all over the world who are also living with diabetes. I mean, for me, whenever I have a bad day, I find myself scrolling through the mental wellness group, just to reassure myself that I'm not alone.
The Diabetes app has a resource section where you can find articles, recipes, tips, and tricks for managing your diabetes. Download the Diabetes app today and connect with us right on the app.
DiaStrong is an online telehealth platform that connects you to medical and holistic professionals to help you manage your diabetes. Find registered dietitians, nutritionists, certified diabetes educators, and more without the hassle of having to go into a doctor's office.
Wait. You mean a lazy bum like me can have appointments right from my computer? Sign me up.
That's right, Dobie. And this week, our listeners can use promo code JMT25 for 25% off their first visit.
Yeah, don't try to cheat and go to JMT26 because you're not going to get 26. It's 25. Go to www.diastronghealth.com. That's www.diastronghealth.com. I have a slight distraction here. Sami, what is pickleball? Rob, do you know? Sami keeps talking about it. I hear about it. I don't know what it is.
I love that you zagged on this because I had a call earlier today where someone mentioned pickleball and I was like, pickleball is in the zeitgeist. Like it's definitely trending in terms of people picking it up. So
it's huge.
Pickleball's great.
Well, what is it?
Okay, think about like tennis, but with like, what is it called? A waffle ball, whatever they're called.
Wiffle ball,
yes. Yeah, okay. And
or the rackets?
Yes, but they're not as big as tennis rackets. They're a lot smaller.
Okay.
And it's just the lines are like a lot different than tennis court.
Tennis court, okay. Is there a net?
The lines are different. So there's like, there's something called like in the kitchen, which like you can't be in the kitchen. There's just a bunch of different rules, but it's really fun. I like it. And the way it bounces is a lot more fun than tennis.
Is there type 1 and type 2 pickleball?
Yeah, type 1 are the cooler ones. Sorry, Dobie.
Is there gestational pickleball?
Gestational pickleball.
Modi pickleball?
Yeah.
Exactly. Sorry for that calculated or...
I was interested as well. I'm glad you asked.
Good. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question, this is so random, but I saw on your Instagram that you did a cold bath. I think it was like the ice bath.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't get to see. I didn't get to read what the benefits were. It popped up and I was like going to bed and I was like half asleep. So if you could touch base on what the benefits are. Dash, what are your thoughts on it? I'm very curious.
So I'll say two things, and I know this podcast is like 25 minutes. So there's a 2-hour podcast on the Huberman Lab about the benefits of cold immersion therapy. Could not recommend Dr. Andrew Huberman's podcast enough if you are a science nerd. So his podcast makes science accessible. There's tons of stuff on the science there. So for me, really 5 or 6 years ago, I discovered Wim Hof. So I don't know if you guys know who that. You guys know who that is?
Yes, Wim Hof breathing techniques.
I thought it was a martial art.
Right. So breathing and Wim Hof, they call him the Iceman.
Okay.
And he has a half a dozen world records. He climbed Everest with no shirt. He ran across the Gobi Desert with no shoes. And no shoes, no shirt, no problem. And he's a little bit wacky, but he started on this journey after his wife lost her life to suicide. And she was bipolar, and he dedicated his life as a researcher to discovering what could have helped her and people like her, because he felt like they tried everything and they unfortunately were just not able to get through to her in a way that would allow her to continue to live. And I just was really inspired by that story, first of all. But then also when I was an athlete, or I guess I still am technically, but when I was people actually cared that I was an athlete. I benefited a ton from, jumping in the cold tub. And even when I was a kid, in the wintertime, my parents, we had a pool at our house and they'd be like, hey, you guys want to go jump in and do the cold plunge? So I'm like a little bit like programmed for the cold. But, whether it's dopamine, whether it's norepinephrine or epinephrine, and all of the physiological and neurological neuroplasticity benefits, ultimately jumping in a cold tub of water is the hardest thing you will probably do all day. Because it is not enjoyable. Every single time, no matter how many times I do it, I just instantly, it feels like somebody punched you in the gut. You'll never take a deeper breath than when you submerge yourself in 45-degree water. So a couple years ago, I was like, over the years, I've gotten into it. I've done the cold showers. At the wintertime, I lived in this apartment complex and I just jumped in the pool when it was cold outside. And so last year, I just decided to take the plunge, so to speak, and I bought a cold tub for my house, and now I do it every day.
Man, I need to try it because I see people do it and I'm like, that looks nice, but only when I'm sweaty. And then when I'm not sweaty, I'm like, no.
It's great right now. It's 100 degrees every day in Dallas. I can just go pop into my ice tub for a quick break. And it's really nice. So for me, I don't know, pain management, really just building my neuroplasticity, burning more calories. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. I've had it for about 2-3 months now. And I do it every day.
I had an old car where the window didn't work, so I went through the car wash and I got cold showered that way.
Not enough people are talking about that as like a substitute. If you just need just a refresher, just roll those windows down and go through it,
I'm more grassroots, modern health oriented, but I get it done, Rob. We do.
That's right. We got to have ice tub for the everyman. I think that's a great secondary. If you're not sure about the cold plunge, just roll the windows down in the car wash.
Just give it a shot. It's funny because Sami and I were talking about this before we had you on, and I have been reading a lot about this. It seems to be trending hot with a lot of articles, and it's a hot thing. So I'm glad you brought it down to layman's terms, because I got to be honest with you, this voluntarily not something I would want to try, but you made me think twice.
Well, some people say that pickleball is trending more than ice tubs, and I'm just here to set the record straight.
I'm just here to tell everybody what's actually true and what's actually not. So,
but you did mention that I'm doing a series on Instagram about the actual science behind it and all the benefits, and I'm citing all of these studies. So, real big on making sure the science is out there, because there's a lot of woo-woo information out there on the webs. You guys know, you hear the diabetes stuff, I'm sure.
Oh, 1,000%. There's so many things.
So, just trying to make sure that all of the stuff that I share is research-based.
Yeah.
Yeah, cinnamon will cure your diabetes. That's woo. I can't tell you how many people have said that.
That one's the best one. I'm like,
you should be eating it every day. Are you a doctor? No.
Yeah, just, like they say, a spoonful of cinnamon makes the medicine go down.
Yep.
That's what they say.
People believe it, though. That's the concerning part now.
Because it can't have sugar.
Have you noticed it did anything to your insulin sensitivity or no?
The ice tub? I'm pretty active anyway. So what I found is over the years, if I do the things that are really the big things, like sleep the right amount of time, stay hydrated, and get some sort of movement and sunlight in every day, whether it's, it doesn't always have to be go for a run or play a serious basketball game. If, just getting around and moving, getting outside, whether I'm on a pump, whether I'm on multiple daily injections, whether, whatever I'm doing, my diabetes is kind of the same. So I have not noticed any significant differences. I did lose about 5 pounds, which is kind of nice. I'll take that. Didn't really change anything else. So, but that's just an ego thing. That's just nice to have.
That's just pumps me up myself.
Yeah. Just to make me feel good.
Got the 6-pack.
Well, we're close.
It's like we're working on it.
5-pack and a keg.
Whereas, I'd probably have to eat a little bit better than I do.
No, I feel like, honestly, I think that would help me at least for like diabetes burnout. Cause I feel like my brain wouldn't think of, I don't know, that sounds weird, but like whenever I jump in a cold pool and I'm swimming, it just like clears my mind. And I'm like, okay, I can start fresh.
Well, that's literally scientifically happening, right?
Yeah.
So if it's too cold, your body, let's talk about it. We're on a screen right now. You guys are social media mavens and on screens.
Yep.
We are inundated all day as humans with chronic stress.
Yeah.
Throw that even higher for people with diabetes because there's something all the time like clouding our headspace. Like, oh, well, how many carbs did I eat? How did I dose? Like, did I give my long-acting insulin on time? Is my CGM going to expire anytime soon? What did I have for breakfast this morning? How much did I sleep last night? And on and on and on. So chronic stress really clouds us. And what's different about living today compared to 100 years ago, a couple hundred years ago, is like we rarely are at risk for our life. We're not like in the wilderness and a bear like sneaks up on us and, we're scared and that acute stress.
Yeah.
So what cold plunging gives you is an acute stressor, which then wipes the slate clean on your chronic stress. So that feeling where you're like kind of all your cares go away and you're lighter than air, that's a scientific research-based reaction that your body is having while you're doing that. So that's what I try to do every day is to clear that chronic stress, wipe the slate clean, and start again.
I'm going to send you one, Dobie, and you're going to start doing it every day.
I appreciate that, Sam. And I got a question for both of you. Sammy, you are a dancer. You've been since you were a little girl. Rob, you're an athlete. Obviously, you have kept this up. The average person that gets diabetes is not an athlete, and exercise can be tough. A lot of our guests come on there and they seem to be superhuman, almost perfect. Everybody has down days. How do you deal with your diabetes burnout? And Sammy too. What do you do when you're having a bad day? How do you keep yourself up? So a listener can say, well, if those guys can do it, I can do it too.
Dobie, man, that is an awesome question. And I think that in the community, especially...
I don't ask many. Make it a good answer because I don't do it often.
It's really interesting. And I'm glad you brought it up. I am not superhuman. You can take a look at my calendar. Most people would just crawl back in bed and out of fear. But I am a normal person and I do experience burnout with diabetes, with work, with relationships all the time. So if there is a persona of like perfection, I hope that I'm not perpetuating that. There's a lot of P words in there, but I'm a human and I think we are all humans and we need to give ourselves grace and space when it comes to dealing with diabetes because like we always talk about, it's a full-time job, no vacation, no benefits, no salary. So, and yet we still have to wake up and slay the dragon every day. And then we wake up the next day and there's no parade, there's no cake, there's no party for us of managing diabetes. It's just, hey, guess what you get? Another day of managing diabetes. So what I try to do to really reframe when I'm feeling really low, I definitely go jump in the tub. I definitely try to make sure I'm hydrated, check my blood sugar, make sure I'm in range. Like if I need to go take a walk, I'll take a walk. But I remind myself that if I had been born at any other time in history, I would be dead and that I'm living on borrowed time.
Yeah.
And that as humans, we're only guaranteed 4,000 weeks. And that is the average human lifespan. And so each moment that I get is a gift. And I do choose sometimes to feel sorry for myself and to give myself the space I need to grow or to heal or whatever the case may be. But the sun's going to come up tomorrow. And that's an opportunity for me to make good on that borrowed time that I'm living on and do what I want to do and with who I want to do it with and share that with people.
Well said. Thank you. I'm glad you said it that way.
Yeah, you worded that perfectly because that's very true. Like sometimes I have to let myself have the days to just like be upset about it, even though I might know deep down, like, this is really lame that you're dwelling on it or like getting really in your head about it or bummed when there's a lot of other things going on. But then I also have the days that I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to go work out then. I'm going to relax or I'm going to take a bath, like jacuzzi, whatever it is, something to just like take my mind off it, listen to music. But it's almost just like regular self-care things. But I think just in human nature, we don't really do that often until somebody tells us, hey, you should do this just to like wind down tonight. Because a lot of times they don't.
You guys probably feel this way. And whether you're type 1 or type 2, sometimes that breeds a lot of type A behavior where you're like really holding on tightly to those numbers and that management. And it can be really difficult to give yourself a break. So
absolutely.
If you're out there with diabetes, listen to this, give yourself a break today and just Venmo request somebody who doesn't have diabetes because they owe you money.
Honestly, they do. In one way or another, somebody owes me money. I'm like, I don't know how much, but it's a lot.
I don't know about you guys. To me, putting my favorite music on, like for an exercise walk, that just puts me in a mood. And everybody's taste is different. It doesn't matter what it is, but I think that's part of it too. Do you agree? Just get everything around you. The food you're going to eat. Okay, I'm going to eat something I can eat. Maybe I might cheat a little bit today because I'm having a bad day, but I might not. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say like curate the state that you need to
Yes.
be successful. Is it you light a candle, do some sage, do some woo-woo stuff, or, jam some tunes? Sometimes I'll just listen to the same song over and over and over on repeat.
Oh, me
I'm
too.
Just jamming through stuff. My Spotify rap is going to be really strange, but hey, I am who I am. I am cringe and I enjoy it.
I am cringe and I know it.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a question of the pod, and I'm curious what your guys' favorite podcast is. And this is for our listeners to answer, but I want to know what your guys is. And Elizabeth.
Well, I got to say, obviously ours is, I'm going to listen to Rob's now because he's a cool guy and he won me over in like the first minute. And I can read people pretty well. Rob, I'm a comedian. Like I have to read audiences in the first few seconds. And Sami and Elizabeth and our whole pod squad picked great guests on there. And I'm thinking you got a great vibe and I'm learning from you. And, I'm old enough, I could be your pop, but you're teaching me. And that's what I think is so cool about it. So you're on my top list and a lot of our other guests too. You're putting it out there. You're doing good service. We try to do the same thing and perpetuate the community. So I know that's a diplomatic answer, but I mean it sincerely from the heart.
Hey, I love the guest service though. It's awesome. So I'm also more in my past life than now, but I taught and performed comedy at Dallas Comedy House for like 7 years. And so
nice.
I loved listening to your diagnosis story. I was like, can't say you're a comedian and not talk about your own testicles in the first bit of your act. So I loved that you made do on that.
You know what? I feel horrible because I know people cringe, but it's like, hey, if it would have been my ears, I would have said that. But that's just the parts.
I loved it. No, you got to bare your whole heart. So yeah, I binged a lot over the last week or so since we set this interview up. I've been some of the episodes of your podcast. You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
My favorite podcast is, I'll give you two. The first is The Rewatchables, which is on the Ringer Podcast Network. It's about rewatchable movies. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're great movies, but they're movies that we love and rewatch. I love that one. And then I also like the Ryan Russillo podcast. Okay. That's probably my those are my two really regular podcasts that I listen to every week.
I like that.
Cool. Quinn Elizabeth, our producer, said This American Life and Just My Type in that order. So we're number 2, but we're moving up.
Right behind This American Life though. So, pretty good company.
Pretty good.
Sami, what about you?
I like this one called Lady Gang. And I don't know why, but I think it's really funny. I never was a huge podcast person until 3 years ago, COVID time. And then I was like, what am I going to do?
Oh, yeah. That exploded podcast.
Sure. I also watched this other one, but it's probably not the most appropriate to say on this. But
do tell. Now we want to know.
I love the Lady Gang one. I think it's hilarious.
Spicy.
No, she actually gives great psychological different things that she talks about. But
is it Call Her Daddy?
It is Call Her Daddy. But she has good psychologists and such that come on. And I'm always like, wow, they had a really valuable wisdom that they shared. Yeah, it's called Call Her Daddy. When I tell my dad, he doesn't sound too thrilled.
A tough podcast to discuss with your parents, I'm sure, if you're a young lady. But
yeah, Dad, Call Her Daddy. He's like,
tons of respect for what they've built on that platform. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's very successful.
I'm just happy to be in somebody's top 100. It's like if you mention us and if you heard of us, that's a good.
Okay, Rob, where can people get a hold of you?
I like to joke that I'm very online. So you can follow me on Instagram, Rob Howe 21. Everything Diabetics Doing Things is diabeticsdoingthings.com. On every platform, you can find us as Diabetics Doing Things. So just Google Rob Howe Diabetes and start from there.
Great. We love it. I'm so excited that you came on, and thank you so much because this was a really fun episode.
Yeah, thank you guys for having
me. What we'd
me.
like to do on here is people come on as a guest and they leave as a friend.
Yeah.
We hope to have you on. If we're in Dallas, we're going to bug you. We're going to take you to my friend Tanner Agar's place.
I'll literally be in Dallas in 3 months, I think.
So, Sami, how can people get a hold of us?
All right. So go on our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Just My Type Pod _ Facebook at Just My Type Pod, and our hashtag Just My Type Pod. Again, please give us a 5-star rating and review so we can get the conversation flowing in diabetes community together. Same with Rob's podcast. And again, please answer the question of the pod, which is, what is your favorite podcast? Because I need to add a list to my phone. So thank you again, Rob. We had such a great time with you, and it's been a pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Thanks to our pod squad, Elizabeth and Zach, and everybody with JMT. Sami, it's time to put the sugar-free cherry on the healthy sundae one more time.
Say la vie, baby.
This is the Just My Type podcast.